Good evening, everyone. Out of respect for everyone's time, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. Thank you for joining Bike Maryland's webinar. We're going to be learning about the League of American Bicyclists Bicycle-Friendly Community Program and Sustainable Maryland. My name's Dan Barron. I'm a board member with Bike Maryland, which is a 100% volunteer-driven nonprofit. We're very happy to be celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. Our mission is to promote bicycling, increase safety, improve conditions, and provide a voice for bicyclists in Maryland. And we work with stakeholders across the state to make bicycling a safe form of transportation and a fun recreational opportunity for all. We're thrilled to see several of our members online tonight, but if you haven't joined already, please visit our website and join us. The more members we have, the stronger our voice is. A few housekeeping notes. We are recording tonight's session and we will post it online. We'll send an email with the link when it is posted. If you know folks who are interested in the content but were unable to join us tonight, please make sure to share that link with them. To avoid distractions, we're going to keep cameras and microphones off. If you have questions, please use the chat to post those questions. We'll hold questions till the very end after our three speakers have presented. And then we will have a Q&A at the end. And I'm very lucky to be joined by my colleague and fellow board member, Misha Sutton, who will be moderating the Q&A session at the end of tonight's meeting. If you have questions at any time, always feel free to reach out to Bike Maryland, and you can find our contact information on the website. We are incredibly lucky to be joined tonight by Amelia Neptune from the League of American Bicyclists, who's going to be telling us about the Bicycle-Friendly Community Program, and Mike Hunninghake, the Director of Sustainable Maryland, who will be telling us about that program, particularly some of the action items around transportation and bicycling. And then finally, we'll hear a local perspective from John Korn, who's the President of Bicycle Advocates for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, or Bike AAA, who will be sharing the local perspective about how they use the program, Bicycle-Friendly Community Program, as a catalyst to help improve bicycling in Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. And then again, finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A moderated by Misha. And with that, I am very happy to pass it over to Amelia to tell us about the Bicycle-Friendly Community Program.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you about the Bicycle-Friendly Community Program and how you can use it. Like Dan said, I'm the director of the Bicycle-Friendly America program. My name is Amelia Neptune with the League of American Bicyclists. And if you haven't heard of us before, we are a national nonprofit bike advocacy organization working all across the U.S. representing bicyclists who make up our membership. And we have been at this work since 1880. We were originally founded as the League of American Wheelmen to advocate for the very first paved roads in the nation. And we did a really good job at that. And now 140 plus years later, we are still leading the movement to create a bicycle-friendly America for everyone. And we do that through a number of different programs. We run the Sport Cycling program, which trains and certifies people to teach bike safety in their communities, both to children and adults, including bicyclists and drivers. And we offer a suite of curriculum for those instructors to use in their communities. We're the national sponsors of National Bike Month, which is next month in May. And we've got a ton of tools for local advocates to use and communities to use to celebrate in their own way. We put out a lot of reports and research and data through our website, data.bikeleague.org. And we work with local advocates all over the country to help them achieve their local advocacy goals, in addition to representing them on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. So we host the National Bike Summit, but we also have a year-round lobbyist on staff who is representing bicyclists with our members of Congress and trying to get things like federal transportation dollars to support biking and walking and safety for all modes of transportation. And then last but not least, the program I run is the Bicycle-Friendly America program, which includes evaluation of states, communities, businesses, and universities. And I'll talk a little bit about all four of these tonight, but my main focus for tonight's presentation will be the communities program. So first, the Bicycle-Friendly State Program is a ranking of all 50 states that we do every couple of years. As of our last ranking, Maryland was number 14, but we will actually be coming out with a new ranking later this year. And if you work for the state DOT, you can expect to see the survey from us pretty soon, later this summer. And we evaluate policies at the state level as part of our ranking and evaluation. And we put out a report on best practices and model laws and trying to help all states become even better for bicycling. And then at the local level, we've got our bicycle-friendly business program. There are over 1,400 bicycle-friendly businesses all across the country in every single state and DC. 26 of those are in Maryland. Our bicycle-friendly university program is in almost every state. There are currently 220 bicycle-friendly universities, including colleges and universities of all shapes and sizes all across the country. 3 of those are in Maryland. And then finally, the bicycle-friendly community program, like I said, which I'll be focusing mostly on tonight. There are 480 awarded bicycle-friendly communities in all 50 states, and 8 of those are in Maryland. And in just a moment, I'll show you where to look them up so that you can see who those awardees are in your state or your area. But first, I just want to step back and say the way that this program works and the way that the communities, businesses, and universities are evaluated is they submit an application to us and we evaluate them, we review them, we give them feedback on how to improve, and we give out awards if they meet our criteria. But it is not a participation trophy. Not everybody that applies gets an award. In fact, 63% of first-time applicants do not get an award. We've got an honorable mention level just below bronze and then no award below that. So the majority of first-time applicants aren't yet reaching that level to reach bronze, but our goal is to help everyone improve. So whether you're bronze or platinum or honorable mention, you get feedback from us on how to improve. So that's really the goal of this program. The recognition is meant to be motivation, and it is really amazing and inspiring how effective that can be, especially when you're thinking about your local elected officials or decision makers who like awards. Those awards can be very motivating, but a lot of communities are just applying for the feedback because they know that that's something they need. And this is a free program for communities, so it's a really great way to get guidance and input from national experts on what your community needs to do to get better. You'll also get input from local bicyclists. We do a survey of local bicyclists for any community that applies. And it's been interesting to see that there is, like I said, there's room for improvement for everyone. So that's part of the reason everyone gets feedback from us. But even in our platinum level communities, we hear from local residents that certain neighborhoods are still not safe for bicycling, and there is a need for improvement all across the country. So you'll get survey results from us in addition to the feedback report to help you and your community improve and identify all the key areas that people think need to be most improved. Similarly, to the feedback that's both national and local, the recognition piece is also national and local. We put out a national press release every time we announce new awards. And we also give all awardees a announcement toolkit to help them announce. And we tell all the statewide advocacy groups. So I'll be working with Dan the next time there's a Maryland community getting an award so that Bike Maryland can put out a press release as well. And you can see some of the other places that have publicized awards in recent years. Now, finally, if you are curious to see the awards in your state, you can go to our awards database, and I'll put the link in the chat when I'm done presenting. But you'll see this map that you can click on, and when you click on the state, you'll see the state ranking and the number of awardees in each category. And then if you scroll below the map, you'll actually see the full list, and these are all sortable lists. So you can click on the community name or the population and sort them by those different categories. And if you scroll down, you'll see businesses, and then below that, you'll see universities. And I also just wanted to flag that for all those communities, the report cards that I mentioned, that's the feedback piece, those are all posted on our website as well. So you'll see a little link that says view report card for each of the communities. And if you click that, you'll get the multi-page report card. So here's just a sneak preview of 3 of the 5 pages for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County's recent BFC report card. So now I'm going to go into just a little bit of what we're looking for, what it takes to earn the Bicycle Friendly Community Award. So the application is organized and evaluated around this framework that we call the 5 E's, which is engineering, education, encouragement, evaluation, and planning, and finally, equity and accessibility. And it literally is organized around these categories. So what you see now is a screenshot of the actual application, and you can click through the pages to see the questions we ask in each of the E's. And our online application is great at auto saving, so you can sort of jump around, and if you're considering applying, creating an online account and starting out by just exploring the application is a really great way to start. It doesn't hurt to just have one going. You'll start to get emails from us as deadlines approach, so it's a good way to also just be informed about the program. But something I want to emphasize is that while we use these 5E criteria, there really isn't a one-size-fits-all explanation of exactly what you have to do to earn the BFC award, because every community is so different. And we take those differences into consideration when we're evaluating communities. So we start out by asking for a profile of the community, which includes demographic and census information about the community. It also includes things like the land use type, so we understand and our reviewers understand whether your community is rural or urban or suburban, what the socioeconomic factors are, what the language stats are, what racial demographics look like, what disability demographics look like. And we take all of that into consideration when we're reviewing your application. So in the engineering category, what we expect to see of a big city might look very different from a small rural town or a suburb. But the core things that we're looking for under engineering are a cohesive, low-stress bike network. In some communities, this is going to mean a lot of slow-speed streets that are very low in traffic volume. In other sort of big city type settings, that will mean more bike infrastructure, more dedicated, protected bike lanes. In some places, it might mean mostly trails. So again, that's what I mean by there's no one-size-fits-all for exactly what it has to look like, but the core sentiments of connected networks and facilities that are available to all ages and abilities of bicyclists is sort of what we're looking for. We also think about things like design and bike parking, end of trip facilities, policies that support all of these things, multimodal if you're a community with transit, how that connects with bicycling. So those are just some of the things we look for under engineering. Next, encouragement. Again, this can look like a lot of different things, and different communities have sort of found the things that work best for them. But under encouragement, we see things like bike to work day, bike shops hosting events, chambers of commerce hosting bike rides, open streets events, things that happen regularly, things that happen at least once a year, things that sort of build bike culture and bring people out into the community and encourage them to participate. And I already mentioned Bike Month happening next month is a really great opportunity, having your mayor have a Bike to Work Day proclamation or a Bike Month proclamation for your community. We're hosting, a coffee cart along the trail on Bike to Work Day to engage with all those commuters who might be going by. These are just a few of the things. And again, we sort of look to the demographics and the climate and the different features of the community to think about what's going to be most effective in your community. And we try to help you identify the things on the application, because it's a long list of options. We don't expect every community to do all the different things that are listed on the application, but it's meant to sort of offer something for everyone. Next, education is an area that we can really help you with because of that smart cycling program that I mentioned. On the League's website, we've got an online learning center, and we have a bunch of videos that can be downloaded and posted on your own website or embedded on your website. We also have printed materials that can be ordered from our online store. And then we have a list of all the League cycling instructors in your area. You can look it up by zip code to see who is certified to teach bike safety in my community, and you can engage with those folks to teach a bike safety class or host a ride and sneak a little education in at the beginning of the bike ride. So those are some of the things that you can do around education. Again, this is an area you can be really creative with, and we expect communities to partner. It's not always up to the city to do all of these things. Local partners, local advocates, public health, there are schools, there are so many different partners, and the coalition building around things like education and encouragement is a really important piece that strengthens a lot of bicycle-friendly community applications. The next E is evaluation and planning, and this is where we look at literal plans, so a bike plan, a Vision Zero plan, a roadway safety action plan, And this is something that there's a lot of new federal funding to help you develop plans if you don't already have a plan. And if you don't, a good reason to develop a plan is that there's even more federal funding for implementing your plans if you have plans. So that's part of the reason we emphasize the importance of having these planning documents. It sort of institutionalizes the community's intentions to improve, and it helps set the vision for where the community wants to go. I love the name of this plan in the middle. It's the City of Davis is one of our platinum level bicycle friendly communities, and their bike action plan is called Beyond Platinum because they're trying to think even bigger. Also under evaluation and planning are things like safety and data collection around crashes and fatalities and where crashes might be happening that might need more attention than other areas, and measuring your connectivity, measuring your ridership, counting how many people are riding, figuring out where they're riding and where they're not riding, where they're riding on the sidewalk because the road feels too dangerous. Those kinds of things all go into evaluation and planning. In addition to funding, budgets, staffing, sort of all those sort of foundational pieces that you need to do all of the other work that's throughout the application. And then finally, and most importantly, equity and accessibility is our fifth E. And there are a number of equity and accessibility related questions embedded throughout the rest of the application. So for example, under education, we ask a bunch of questions about in-school bike education for kids. One of those questions is, do you have a fleet of bikes? And if you do have a fleet of bikes, are there any adaptive bikes for children with disabilities? So that's just one example. But at the end of the application, there's also a whole section focused on equity and accessibility and specific plans and staffing and committee ideas that communities might be implementing to really, again, embed this and institutionalize this. And the accessibility piece, I love this graphic and this reminder that not every disability is visible to others, and not everyone with an accessibility need identifies as disabled. And so that's something that's really important to keep in mind when you're considering the equity and accessibility implications of your biking work. And on the equity front, I love this infographic from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, because I think the thing to emphasize here is that for me, equity is about breaking down barriers for everyone. But in order to do that, you have to recognize that not everyone has the same barrier, and not everyone's solution is going to look the same. So different neighborhoods are going to need different kinds of investments, different kinds of attention around outreach and engagement or new infrastructure investments. And so that's what we're going for when we talk about equity and accessibility, is sort of lifting everyone up, but recognizing that the challenges might be really different from one place to another, including within a single community. So finally, I just wanted to show that there's a lot of in-application guidance and support. There's a Word version of the application that you can download and sort of skim through to see all the huge menu of options that we offer. There's a glossary. There are some worksheets that you can download to help you do things like figure out your mileage of different bike facilities. And so I just wanted to note that all of those things are there. If you're curious to explore the application more, you can do all of that. This is a quote I really love from a previous BFC applicant, talking about how the community support for bicycling has been a virtuous cycle. The more infrastructure we construct for bicyclists, the more people bike, and the more demand we see for safe bicycling options. And that's what the 5 E's are all about. We try to encourage communities to think about this really holistically, because it's not enough to just build a good bike lane. You also have to bring people to the bike lane and show them how to use it and help them discover it and help them discover the local bike shop. And there are so many pieces, but they all feed each other, and they all help build on that momentum. The results have spoken for themselves, where the places that are earning the Bicycle Friendly Community Award are doing the things that actually increase ridership. And I think if you're on this call, you probably already know that bicycling is good for people, good for the planet, good for the community. There are so many benefits, and being bike friendly doesn't just benefit bicyclists, it benefits everyone from a safety standpoint, from an environmental standpoint, from a public health standpoint. And so the motivations that communities bring to, why would I want to go through this process of applying and getting the feedback and maybe getting an award, but maybe I'm just getting the feedback and hoping to reapply in the future to get an award. All of these things help contribute to these goals that your community probably already has. And we'll hear from Mike later about, the sustainability aspect is obviously a huge piece of it, but there are so many benefits to bicycling. And I just wanted to sort of remind you that any of these actions that you take from the BFC application helps move your community towards these goals. So with that, just a couple of resources and important deadlines to note. The next BFC deadline is happening this summer. We only have one a year now. It's an annual deadline, so June 25th. Mark your calendar. It will be June 25th again next year, just because that's the calendar worked out nicely that way. We have 3 deadlines per year for businesses and 1 deadline per year for universities. So you can see those, and I'll put some of these links in the chat when I'm done. We also do have a lot of really great resources. If you're not quite ready to apply yet, but you're looking for some other things to do, we worked with AARP on a bike audit toolkit, which is an amazing tool and resource to help you evaluate infrastructure in your community. And then back in December, we just published the Bicycle Friendly Community Idea Book, which is a really cool resource full of ideas and examples and case studies from real communities all across the country. And then we have an entire website dedicated to biking and walking data. So if you're interested in all the metrics from a national level or state and some city level, you can dive deep into all of that there. And then I also wanted to emphasize that the Bicycle Friendly Business Program is a great resource and a tool even for cities. So for some cities, applying to the BFC program is a huge heavy lift that they're not quite ready for yet. But getting City Hall to become a bicycle friendly business is a lot more feasible and sort of a lower hanging fruit and a good place to start to get more people on board. And so starting with maybe a bike to work day ride next month, and then in June applying to the BFB program, and then a year from then applying to the BFC program, just saying that could be a really great way to get your community started if this is all brand new to them. We do also host calls for everyone who's working on a bicycle friendly community application, and I'll put this link in the chat, but our next one is actually coming up next Tuesday, and this is a quarterly call, 90 minutes long, that you're welcome to come or go from. You don't have to stay for the whole time, but it's a really great time to network with other communities all around the country. And I'm also there to answer any questions people have about the BFC application. And then I'm also doing a webinar in a couple of weeks on May 14th on that topic that I mentioned earlier of workplaces for better biking, and specifically for government workplaces. So we'll have some federal government speakers, but this is just as applicable for state, local, regional government workplaces. So with that, that's the end of my presentation. I know we're doing questions at the end, but feel free to put them in the chat, and I will also be putting a bunch of links in the chat now that I'm done talking. So thanks again, and I look forward to answering your questions in a little bit.
Thank you so much, Amelia. That was fantastic, and just a great overview of all the programs and a lot of really helpful information and resources. And yeah, if you have questions for Amelia or the other speakers, please start adding those to the chat. And next, we're going to ask Mike Cunningham to join us to speak about the Sustainable Maryland program. Mike?
Yep. Thank you very much, Dana. I'm just going to... Okay. Whoop. Can everybody see that? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, super. Thanks very much, Dan and Amelia. That was a fabulous presentation about all the resources that your organization has. I'm going to sort of, I guess, drill down a little bit more to the local level, and hopefully introduce folks to a program that can be beneficial to their communities. The program is called Sustainable Maryland, and we are based out of the Environmental Finance Center, which is part of the School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation at UMD in College Park. The Sustainable Maryland program is modeled on the very successful Sustainable Jersey program, and amongst other things that we provide to incorporated municipalities, we have a certification program very similar to what you just heard from Amelia. I often refer to it as sort of the LEED certification for buildings. We are very similar to that as well. And we have a number of different partners and sponsors. A key one is the Maryland Municipal League, which has been our key partner since the inception of the program over a decade ago. We also have some funding from the US EPA for the Environmental Finance Center. And then we have funders at the state level, including annual funding from the state of Maryland, as well as grants from the Chesapeake Bay Trust to do some work, and occasionally some local governments, such as Prince George's County. And we also have some corporate supporters involved in the program. So the mission of Sustainable Maryland is to support the work of municipalities that want to go green, save money, improve the local quality of life, improve local health outcomes. It's a pretty broad spectrum that we cover, and I'll get into that in a second. The program is absolutely free, and municipalities can opt into it by passing a resolution that indicates that they want to participate in the Sustainable Maryland program, which allows us to work in a more in-depth way with these communities. We primarily, at the outset, when a community joins, help them form a green team, and then help that green team put together an action plan for the community, which also serves as a blueprint for their certification. The certification, which includes an action menu that folks can choose from to receive points towards the certification, is a way of helping them choose a direction for their efforts. We also are very plugged into a lot of different state agencies, nonprofits, grant programs, so we can help communities get access to those resources. The certification program itself provides a way to monitor their progress over the years as they come back for recertification. And I think one of the really key parts of our program is our ability to share success stories with municipalities so that they are both inspired and do not have to reinvent the wheel if they can model a action that they can observe in a community that's similar to theirs. So we act very much as a nexus of information for municipalities all across the state. So our staff, some of the folks at other departments at UMD, some of the state agencies and nonprofits we're plugged into, we can connect municipalities and green teams to those folks. We sometimes have student resources, so we're able to assign students to a municipality to complete a specific action that they can receive points towards certification. We also sometimes have faculty who have a capstone project or a semester-long project that we can pair up with a municipality. We do periodic and different trainings over the course of a given year. We do specific customized green team trainings with a municipality where we introduce them to the program and then we help them brainstorm their action plan and sort of a plan for certification. We also do day-long workshops on various topics. A couple of months ago, the topic was energy efficiency and renewable energy funding that's coming from the federal government and how local governments can tap into that. We've created over the last decade or so a real solid peer-to-peer leadership network across the state. And we, as I mentioned before, are very active in sharing the success stories and best practices across the region. And then, of course, the certification itself, the annual awards that we do are a great way for communities to brand themselves and burnish their reputations and show that they are ahead of the curve and perhaps doing better than the neighboring municipalities. So this is just a bit of a overview of the program. We were launched in 2011. Currently, about a little over half of Maryland's 157 incorporated municipalities are registered, meaning we can work with them. They are eligible to attend all of our events and things like that. And then of those, 46 communities have been certified at least once. Communities have to come back every 3 years to maintain their certification. We are approaching a point where some communities are coming back for their fourth certification. And it's been really very cool to see the progress that they've had over the last dozen or so years. We have a website, which I will reference in a little bit. We also have a Facebook page. You're welcome to like that. And then specifically in 2022, we added some new actions and a new silver tier. For many years, we just simply had a bronze tier of certification. We added a new tier in 2022, and we added some new actions and some new categories, including transportation, which is what we're going to get into in a second. We also administer grants on behalf of PEPCO, which is the utility for the greater DC region, DC, Montgomery County, and Prince George's County. So if anybody's tuning in, please, you're welcome to contact me separately about that. Those grants could potentially fund some bicycle-related, bike ped-related programs at the local level. I mentioned that we are funded by the state. That funding actually only began last year, and that allowed us to hire a new staff person, Liv Pierce, who is getting to know lots of different municipalities these days. That is just a gratuitous slide showing all of the different, not all, but many of the different logos of the towns that are registered or certified with the program. But this slide is actually the one that's most important. This is a map that's on the homepage of our website, and it shows the towns that are registered in the sort of small green dots or certified at the bronze level or the silver level. And for the life of me, I couldn't quite capture the entire state. You know, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, and you lose a little bit on the margins. But we have communities even farther west than Frostburg, which is that one up by Cumberland there. And on the eastern shore, the lower eastern shore, we've got Ocean City and Berlin and Salisbury there, and everything in between. So we work with communities all across the state, from the very rural to the quite urban. You can see that tight cluster in the middle there by DC. We have engaged 26 of the 27 municipalities in Prince George's County. So we are very engaged across the board there. And we have communities as small as 400 people that have actually gotten certified, and as well as the top cities by population in the state, 75, 65, 55,000 people, and everything in between. This is just a quick kind of overview of the certification before we drill down to the specific actions that we want to talk about tonight. But for a municipality to achieve certification, they have to first, as I mentioned, pass a resolution opting into the program. And then on the right there is sort of a snapshot that doesn't include transportation, but we'll get into that in a second. But that gives you a flavor of what the different categories are, and then specific actions within each category have a number of points assigned to them. And there are 2 mandatory actions within that menu. One is to have an active green team, and one is to have an updated action plan. Then a municipality is required to do either 2 for bronze or 4 for silver of the 8 priority actions that we have sort of scattered throughout these categories. And then the bottom line number is a minimum requirement of 150 points for bronze and 400 points for silver. Many of these actions, some of these actions are the result of partnerships with different state agencies or nonprofits. You just heard about one partnership that we have with the League of American Bicyclists. So we have an action that's specific for bicycle-friendly communities. Some other ones that you've probably heard of are Tree City USA. That's an initiative of the Arbor Day Foundation, so a national nonprofit. Some local ones include the Maryland Green Schools program, and that is a certification program for schools in the state that is conducted by the Maryland Association for Environmental and Outdoor Education. So there are a number of different actions across the different categories where instead of developing it from scratch on our own, we've simply partnered with and piggybacked on a pre-existing certification program. So here's where we get into what we want to talk about tonight, which is the new bicycle-related actions that we have. So we created a whole bunch of new actions in 2022, including a new transportation category, which you can see there. And it includes a bicycle pedestrian plan, complete streets policy program, the bicycle friendly community certification, which you just heard all about wonderfully, and then the safe routes to school program. I will just insert here that I am not an expert in any of these actions, but I do have a bit of background in cycling and bicycle touring, self-supported bicycle touring, including nearly 20 2-week or more self-supported tours around Europe and Canada. And I forget exactly where that is, but that is one of the places we visited. So the overview of the transportation category are these, and I didn't mention the innovative demonstration projects, which is oftentimes the kind of most interesting to review when we're looking at applications. But the core of it consists of the bicycle pedestrian plan, complete streets policy, bicycle friendly community certification, and safe routes to school program. So we're just going to kind of drill down a little bit and go into some of these in a bit more detail. So each action is worth a certain amount of points. Here you can see that having a bicycle pedestrian plan in your municipality is worth 15 points, and that's a fixed number. And then at the top, you can see as of now, and there may be other communities that we haven't seen yet because of the 3-year certification cycle. So there's a bit of a lag sometimes, as there is, I believe, with the bicycle friendly community program, because I think there are now 8, and we have, I think, 3 or 4 listed. But you can see that these towns have submitted bicycle pedestrian plans, and some of the things that just to call out about them are, you know, when you're engaged in creating one of these plans, one of the primary things to think about are the costs involved. Will you be doing it in-house, or will you be hiring consultants? We've seen a mix of those. We've also seen that community surveys are often a feature of bicycle pedestrian plans. The green team or the public works department make sure that they conduct a survey of residents to find out where problem areas are or where they'd like to see safer routes or bike lanes. Doing walk or bike audits with volunteers is something that we definitely recommend when we talk to communities about putting together these plans. And having either in-house or consultant mapping. We also want to see uploaded documents for each of these actions. So in this instance, it's a copy of the actual plan or an update on the implementation of the plan. These plans are, multifaceted and play out over a number of years and in a number of different parts of communities. So those are the types of things that we want to see in order to ensure that you're documenting exactly what's happening in the community. The next action is complete streets policy or program. And that's actually a variable and is also one of those priority actions that I mentioned. A town can adopt a policy and receive 5 points, but if they do the policy and implement the program, they'll receive the full 15 points. You can see here that the number of municipalities that we have seen adopted this. Again, I expect there's a bit of a lag and there's probably several more, hopefully some smaller communities. But I think this does definitely skew a little bit towards larger municipalities. And it's not as widely known a concept, complete streets, I don't think quite yet. It's something that's percolating out there. Definitely something that requires sort of cross-departmental input. And because of the ownership of the various roads, coordination with county and state departments of transportation. But the idea behind it is acknowledging that, you want to build or retrofit roads, hopefully retrofit roads, instead of building new ones, so that they are accessible and safe for all users. And it often involves a certain amount of key design elements: traffic calming, bike lanes, sidewalks, bus shelters, that sort of thing. And again, and that is a clip from a plan in Bowie, I believe. Again, the submission requirements, so very similar across many different actions. We want to know the kind of who, where, when, what, why in the text box. And then we want to see copies of documents. In this case, it's policies or plans. And then we also like to see examples of promotional materials, social media posts, newsletter articles, what have you, that demonstrate that you're engaging with the public. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because you just heard a fabulous presentation about this, but the 3 towns, actually cities that we have tracked on this are Annapolis, Frederick, and Salisbury. And just a couple of comments. I think for us, this is going to be something that is weighted, at least initially, towards the larger towns and cities. But we hope to encourage more medium-sized municipalities to engage with this because they can, as Amelia explained so well. And I think the national recognition, as opposed to statewide, is a lure for this. And again, it's a great way for the municipality to keep track of their progress and compare themselves to other communities. And the league has done such a wonderful job with the graphics and the way they illustrate that. I'm definitely envious of that. But basically, we just need to see that the municipality has been certified by the league and upload a copy of the report card and the application. And finally, well, not finally, but the last specific action, safe routes to school. There you see some of the communities that have submitted for this. Definitely something that requires a lot of coordination across different local entities. Very much police departments are involved in these, as well as PTAs, school administrators. We are seeing these incorporated into municipal comprehensive or master plans, which is great. The infrastructure is somewhat related, but sometimes a bit different than a bicycle pedestrian plan. And then there are definitely events around this, Walk to School Day being the most obvious one. And then you can see what sort of submission requirements that we require for this action. And lastly, we have in every category what we call innovative demonstration projects. And these are where communities are doing really cool projects, but they don't fit neatly into those other specific actions that I mentioned. So this is just a cross-section of some things that we have seen in the last several years. Annapolis has had a electric mobility work group and plan. Berwyn Heights did a all-volunteer walkable, bikeable task force and study. So it didn't quite rise to the level of a bicycle pedestrian plan, but nevertheless was a very intense engagement with the community. Boonesboro added crosswalks and made them solar, which was pretty neat. College Park hosts an annual Bike to Work Day event, which they receive points for doing that. Colmar Manor, a small municipality near DC, near DC in Prince George's County. They worked with the county to install a bike share station on their property. Ocean City, if I think most of you know, is during the summer months a very, very busy place, and the main road there is quite a challenging place to ride your bike. And so they initiated a bike light giveaway, which they solicit donations for each year. Riverdale Park connected different neighborhoods with some linear parks there. Sykesville created a connectivity study to see how people could walk and cycle from neighboring neighborhoods to their main street. And then Thurmont is an example where they added transportation, including walking and cycling into their master plan. So those are just some of the examples. I will just say, you can see that's a screenshot of the map that is you can click to from our homepage, and it is searchable by action. So at the bottom there, you see the transportation category, and you can click on any of those actions that I just mentioned, and the map will appear with all of those municipalities that have been received points towards their certification for that action, and you can click on their entire certification report and see exactly how they accomplished it, all of the uploaded plans and policies and that sort of thing. You are very welcome to contact me and my colleagues with specific questions about any of these actions. And we can connect you to specific towns that have done things that you perhaps may want to do in your community. We're also able to help point you towards funding and other technical assistance resources. And you're very welcome to learn more about Sustainable Maryland, perhaps forming a green team in your municipality by signing up on our email newsletter. And that is my details. Those are my details right there. And I look forward to the Q&A at the end.
Thank you so much, Mike. And now we're going to hear from John Korn about how the Bicycle Friendly Community Program has been a catalyst in Annapolis and Anne Arundel County.
Thank you. So yeah, Bike AAA, the long name is Bicycle Advocates for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. I will tell you that the Bike Friendly Community Program that you heard about so well from Amelia has played an absolutely vital role in the genesis of Bike AAA, and the sort of the formative stages and in the growth. And so I'll tell you a little bit about us, and then I'm going to come back and talk about how the Bike Friendly Community Program has been so instrumental in all the things that we do. So yeah, our mission is here. We are an all-volunteer 501c3. We celebrated our 10th birthday last year. Our mission is to promote safe cycling for transportation, recreation, and fitness. The order of those, transportation being first, is really, really important. And then a couple of years ago, we added for people of all ages and abilities to be sure that we are addressing people with mobility limitations, people with disabilities, people of varying income levels, and so forth. We want to make sure all really means all. You can see on the right some of our statistics, how we've grown. Let me just quick show you some of our programs, and then let's talk about BFC. So one is we developed a vision for a trail network. We looked to our south and we saw the Capital Trails Coalition Network, a very, very ambitious vision for a trail network in DC and surrounding counties. We looked to our north and we saw Baltimore City with the Baltimore Greenway. trail network vision. Here we sit in between the two. And so we developed a trail network vision. And this is driving a lot of the prioritization of infrastructure build out in Anne Arundel County. And when I say in Anne Arundel County, I mean in the geography of Anne Arundel County. Some of it gets built by the county, some of it gets built by the city of Annapolis, some needs to get built by State Highway Administration, some by developers, even a bit by the federal government. We have a variety of education and biking encouragement programs. We've given thousands of helmets to mostly children, but to adults in need as well. Bike to school, bike to work day, all sorts of programs that promote safe cycling. Lots of events. Some of them are our own. Others are events that others do. We always promote. We think events are a great way to get people, especially people that are new to biking, to get out and ride. Our signature bicycle event is called the Anne Arundel County Lifeline 100. We do that every year, the first Sunday of October. It is as inclusive a bicycle event as I know of. This will be our 10th year. We have 15 and 30-mile routes that are entirely on trail. Families, recreational cyclists, children, cyclists with special needs and adaptive bikes. And then we've got 65 and 100-mile road tours. And then we've got free children's programs that day as well. Wheels of Hope is a bike refurbishment program. This is something we completely did not anticipate doing, but through a series of partnerships and then identifying a partner that was able to provide us with space. The Anne Arundel County Food Bank does that for us. We collect donated bikes for kids and for adults. Volunteers repair them either at our repair shop or they take them home. Most of our adult bikes are going to people in substance recovery, where transportation is such a big challenge. Our children's bikes go to children in low income and other difficult circumstances where they might not otherwise have a bike. Cycling Without Age is fairly new. Some of you may know about this. It originated in Denmark. It's a global movement. It provides a special device called a trishaw, as you can see there in the pictures. The trishaw has a bench seat for two and a footrest that drops down to the ground so people with mobility limitations can get in and out. We're taking seniors and others out for rides on the trails. We got a series of grants. We just purchased our third trishaw. So really new program, very, very fast growing program, super popular. That's the B&A trail that you see there on the right side. For children, now let's go from seniors to children. Many of you have probably heard of traffic gardens or bike safety parks. We did not have one here in Anne Arundel County. We learned about them at a National Bike Summit. We said we've got to fix that. We now have two. One is up at Lindale Middle School on the BWI loop with art, as you see on the left. The other is in the Seven Oaks community in Odenton. We have a grant application in for a third one coming up soon. So that just gives you kind of an idea of the breadth of our programs. We're very engaged in advocacy. At the state level, we work with the coalition of local advocates led by Bike Maryland. We also do a lot of advocacy in the city of Annapolis County and even at the federal level, again, via our relationship with the League. So let's talk about the BFC launch. I was new to Anne Arundel County in 2012 and retired and went into the Leadership Anne Arundel program. Many of you probably have similar programs. I know there's a Leadership Montgomery, there's a Leadership Howard, there's a Leadership Baltimore County, there's Leadership Maryland at the state level. This is a program that cultivates people to become more effective community service leaders. I went into it to learn about my new county and find a way to give back. A small group of us took on a project that was just labeled, how do we make the county more bike friendly? The first person we went to visit worked for the city of Annapolis in the transportation office. They had applied for League of American Bicyclists bike friendly community status the prior year. And as Amelia said, and I've said it over and over again, it is not like Who's Who in America, send in $100 and we'll send you a plaque. There is a real rigor to these applications. And there's a real rigor to the rating. Annapolis failed to make bronze. Annapolis got honorable mention, got the report card that Amelia talked about, identified all the deficiencies and recommended how the city might consider addressing those deficiencies. And one was that there was no bike advocacy group here. There's Bike More in Baltimore. There's Bike Hoco in Howard County. There's WABA in DC and PG in Montgomery, but there was none here in Anne Arundel. Ian, the city transportation guy at the time, told us that. He said, look, I just applied, couldn't even make bronze. Here's one of the, why don't you guys looking for something to do? Why don't you create an advocacy group? From that conversation, which started with the league application, we decided, yeah, we were in search of a gap. And we saw that as a gap. We learned that in the fall of 2012. And by springtime, we had held a community meeting. Hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you all think? Everybody loved it. We incorporated in March, applied for 501c3 and off and running. So BFC program, absolutely critical to the very notion of creating Bike AAA. Now, back then, the rubric has changed. Amelia talked about the current rubric, the 5 E's. The rubric has changed over the years, but we have always used it as a guide for identifying gaps and setting priorities. This is what they called the bike-friendly building blocks back in 2013. And back then, we can only check off 2 boxes. Do we have police officers on bikes? And we did have an active bike patrol back then. And there's a long history of celebrating National Bike Month, doing Bike to Work Day, and so forth in Annapolis. All the other boxes were unchecked. So advocacy group, we created Bike AAA, we got that one checked. One of the next ones that was told to us to be vitally important, and we learned about the distinction between an advocacy group, typically a 501c3, often volunteers, sometimes paid staff, and some of the larger ones, versus an advisory group, an advisory committee or advisory commission. That one is up here. Also, we did not have that here. We said, let's get that one filled. We went to the county exec at the time and said, hey, look, we're trying to make this place a more bike-friendly community for all the reasons that have been discussed tonight. He said, yep, let's do that. And here we are on the B&A trail, signing the executive order to create a bicycle advisory commission. So again, following the BFC rubric, we checked off another box. And I will tell you, I helped ghostwrite the executive order that created this commission. One of the things that's written right into that executive order that got signed that day back in late 2015 is down here: help the county achieve League of American Bicyclists bronze bike-friendly community status. So right in the charter for the creation of the Anne Arundel County Bike Advisory Commission. The other thing I will say is the principal role of this commission is infrastructure. There's a lot of things we can do as advocates. We can educate, we can encourage, we can run events. What we can't do is build infrastructure. We can't build trails. We can't paint bike lanes and so forth. We rely on the government to do that. But to create a network, for me to ride from my house to City Dock is only about 7 miles, but I've got to traverse county roads, county trail, state road, city trail. I need all of them at the table. This bike commission includes reps from the county, city of Annapolis, and a state highway, together with citizen advocates. So continuing on, another thing missing, let's look at this green circle down here, a bicycle program manager. There was no, my friend Ian back at the city, he had bike ped as just one little fraction of his portfolio. The county had no one as a bike pedestrian planner. We advocated for that. We went to the county exec, we went to the county council, we got it into the budget. We got a bike ped full-time position into the county budget. We participated in the hiring of a bike ped planner, and now we've got one. So you can see how one by one we have followed the BFC rubric as it has evolved over the years, and it has guided a lot of our action, a lot of our advocacy. So 2018, and you may have noticed this is not strictly unique, but somewhat rare, that the city of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County together sort of joined forces to apply for BFC status in 2018. And I'm very proud to say in 2018, we achieved that. And you see some of our partners here. Mayor Buckley from City of Annapolis is here. County Exec Stuart Pittman is here. Here's me. This is our Office of Transportation Director at the time. We have a very, very close working relationship with county police. They're on our bike commission. They're partners in our events. They show up at everything we do. They're in our Wheels of Hope program. And so we achieved this, and it was a big deal for the county and the city, as you can see. So we kept going, building out a bicycle network. This one will never end. We will continue building out a network forever, because it will never get from all of the origins and destinations that people want to ride from and to. So that one is sort of ongoing. Local ordinances, we've made some progress. We've gotten some bills passed in both city and county. That one is also ongoing, more ahead. We have a complete streets policy. We have Vision Zero. We have a bike ped transit assessment process, a bill we got through a few years ago. So that continues. The designation is good for Amelia. It's either 4 or 5 years. I think it's 4. We reapplied last year. We were realistic about, we have our sights set on silver, but I will tell you honestly, as advocate, and I also chair our bike commission, I was really like, do we really deserve silver? Do I really want silver? I don't want anyone resting on their laurels here. We applied again. We made progress in the categories, but we're still at bronze. So we're making progress. Our sights are still set on silver. We will certainly apply again 4 or 5 years out from now. Amelia showed you, we get a report card. We get a lot of feedback. We put this in a chart that we walked through at our last bike commission meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and robust discussion about what kinds of things we're going to do next. So I'm going to leave it right there, but I hope you can see that the Bike Friendly Community Program has made a huge difference as both a catalyst and as sort of a blueprint for the progress that we've made here in Anne Arundel and Annapolis. So I will stop share and turn it over to Misha and Dan.
Thank you so much, John. That was really helpful to hear your experience, and also just kind of the way you laid out the roadmap of how you use the feedback to really improve things in Annapolis and Anne Arundel. So if you have questions, please drop those in the chat. And I'm sorry, I had a couple technical issues, so I got dropped from the meeting a couple times, but I'm back on. So I can't see the full chat, but hopefully Misha's been tracking some of the questions we have. And if not, I have a couple of questions that I can raise.
Well, thank you, everyone. And as you can see from what you've heard, tonight's presentations have been excellent. And it sounds like the linchpin really is the League of American Bicyclists. That really is the connection. So just things to think about as we're moving forward. But one of the questions that's in the chat is, do you have any recommendations for communities that may be interested in applying for bicycle friendly community, but are not quite ready to apply by June of this year? Yeah,
I'd be happy to tackle that, and John might have more to add too. So the application is designed as an educational tool. So first, I would encourage folks to start the online application, even if they have no intention to submit it this year or even next year. It's okay to just start it and use it as a guide to get ideas, because it really is just a huge list of ideas, and it's meant to be a source of inspiration. The Bicycle Friendly Community Idea Book that I mentioned, and I put a link in the chat to, is another place to just get ideas of things to do, because there are so many small, low-hanging fruit things that communities could do within the next year to really strengthen the application that they plan to submit in the future. And I think some of the programming that John described is really awesome examples. Things like Cycling Without Age or, Bike Month. Those are such great activities, engaging with the school on a bike to school day. Just, thinking about what is feasible for your community. And again, looking across all 5 E's to, make sure you're doing a little bit in all the E's is really important. And then the other thing I would say is, I was really glad John talked about the formation of the committee there, because that's often the place I say to start, because you can't do this alone. No one department has all the answers, and no one department or agency or organization can do all of the things. So getting all the right people together in the room to just talk about the application is a really, really good first step. And going through it together and figuring out who else is missing, what stakeholders or, what players aren't there at the table who should be there, because they're an integral part of pulling off the success that you're trying to achieve. So maybe Mike or John have anything to add to that?
Yeah, thank you, Amelia. Yeah, I would add to that. The application is daunting. There is a lot of data to be collected, a lot of programmatic information, and so just diving into it, just to understand the scope of the information that's got to be collected. I went to look. The PDF of our 2023 application is 33 pages. So what we did is formed a little team to submit the application. A lead person, the bike ped planner from the county, a lead person from the city of Annapolis, and me, because no one of us has access to all the data that's needed. And I can tell you, like in the county, there's demographic data that you've got to go get. We went to Baltimore Metropolitan Council, or MPO has, it's got some of that data. Our bike ped planner went to Public Works, went to Rec and Parks for certain bits of data. There's some stuff that we know, the advocates know, that the folks in the government don't know about. And so it's a team effort. So yeah, I 100% agree with what Amelia said. Get started, even if you don't apply, both to start seeing what's there and thinking about things that you want to do to strengthen your application, but also so that you understand just how much rigor there is to assembling the information.
Okay, great. To piggyback off of that, then, for the people that are on the call, I've heard you say a little bit, but what would you recommend are the first steps? I've heard it's a taunting ordeal. It's a lot to do. It's multiple pages. But for the people, like, I'm one person and I'm interested in biking and I live in this community, but what would you suggest would be the first step?
Again, I'll jump in. You need an organization. There's some folks on the call here. Baltimore County has some super active folks that are involved in other mission-aligned organizations, but I think you need to get organized to do this. And by getting organized, I don't mean you have to do what we did and create an entity and get 501c3, but you do have to get organized. And I think build a brand so that you can start influencing government, mostly local governments and others. So I think that's a key place to start. You got to get some critical mass on the local advocate side.
Okay, so it sounds like it is, it takes a community, or as I say, many hands make the load light. So everybody knows I'm not an expert in everything. So pulling in that support, so pulling in like-minded people. And so that takes us into the next question, which kind of ties into that, which does Sustainable Maryland have additional opportunities for communities to connect and share ideas and information, because that sounds like that would be a good place for finding those like-minded people. I'm good at A and you're good at B, so let's get together and see if we can create D and E. But does Sustainable Maryland have additional opportunities for communities?
Yeah, sure. What I would say is check out the map on our homepage and see if your municipality has a green team, right? And if they do, you can attend on Zoom or in person one of their monthly meetings and say, what's happening as it relates to, bicycling in our community. I'm here to volunteer if there's a way to plug in, if you think that I can be useful. So that's one of I think the great things about the program that I run is forming these green teams provides a platform for people who live in a municipality to provide their to bring to bear their personal passion for something specific, such as cycling, or to bring to bear their professional expertise in their day job to bear for the benefit of their community. So my first suggestion would be see if your community is involved in Sustainable Maryland and check out the Green Team. Beyond that, we do have specific trainings and things, but nothing on the horizon specifically for transportation or walking and cycling at the moment.
Can I ask Mike a question? Just a quick
Yeah.
follow-up. Mike, I saw you've got MML. What about counties or places where there aren't many incorporated cities?
Yeah.
Like Baltimore County is just Baltimore County. Anne Arundel has City of Annapolis, but the rest, the City of Annapolis is like 10% of our population. Is there something similar for counties?
Great question. So there is not anything similar for counties at the moment in the state of Maryland. We do not have a certification program for counties. Perhaps down the road, if we get some additional funding to build our staff to do that, that might be the case. But there are counties that are doing good work, I think, from what I can see in terms of bicycle pedestrian planning. In fact, I think I saw which county was it? Some county on the Eastern Shore just announced its new bike ped plan. What I would also suggest is that another aspect of our work just in the last couple of years, we've recognized that we've been very successful with this green team action plan model at the municipal level, and we've gotten some small funding to do pilot projects to replicate this at the homeowners association level. So that's what I would encourage. I know the league does not sort of certify homeowners associations, but all of the information on our website really could be transferred to homeowners associations of a certain scale, the larger end, the medium end. For example, in Montgomery County, Kentlands is a community of about 3,000 people with a main street, and so they can really kind of dig into that sort of thing. So we don't have a lot going on in terms of the county level in Maryland, but I would encourage folks to think about what you might be able to do starting a green team or a bicycle advocacy group at your HOA or community organization level.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, says, John, has the application process led to any connections with other communities applying for bike-friendly communities, for example, Salisbury or Frederick?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we do a lot of that in general. I can tell you when we were just contemplating launching Bike AAA, we went and talked to Bike Hoco, who they had launched, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so prior to us, just to understand their experience with it. And I'll never forget being told patience and persistence. And I live by that. I am not going away, but it takes a long time to get stuff done. We have a lot of interaction with all our counterpart, Bike Frederick, WABA, and Bike Maryland facilitates a lot of that, especially during legislative session. But yeah, we compare notes and we participate in forums like the Baltimore Metropolitan Council, BPAG, the Bike Ped Advisory Group, 7 counties plus City of Baltimore. So there's a fair amount of interaction with our counterparts that we do in general.
Okay, great. And I just have one other question. It's not in the chat, but I was just curious if anybody could speak to. I've heard you all talk about the access to data. So information is shared on websites about biking trends, about street safety. It just sounds like there's a lot of data that is shared out there that's accessible to people, if I understood correctly. It's on the websites. And I just wanted to make sure everybody in the chat was aware of that and heard that. And if I'm misspeaking, please let me know, because that's a lot of things too. You may not be ready to set up an organization. You may not know who to tap into, but sometimes sharing the data with people and sharing it on different platforms gets people interested or gets to start that conversation, using that data to drive that conversation. And then maybe pulling people in to find, okay, we're not ready to do something on a big scale, but let's start small. Let's start with a bike to work day or PTA, get the PTA thinking about the street safety for students around the school or church community or whatever it may be, but starting small, but just making sure that everybody recognizes that from what I heard, that data is out there and that you know where to use it. I know if you please go through and look in the chat, Amelia and Mike have shared information and their links and all in the chat. So please make sure before you leave today, you get that information, because I think that's going to be key too, as you're thinking about sharing out and starting or getting involved in any of this. So it may not be starting something, but knowing where to go if something's close to you to get involved and become active that way. So there are no other questions that I see, Dan.
Okay, well, last call for questions, but not seeing any. Just want to thank our speakers so much again, Amelia, Mike, and John, for taking the time out of your busy week to come speak with us and share a ton of helpful information. Participants, thank you as well for joining us and sticking out to the end. And we will be posting a recording online. And again, please pass that around to others who may have been interested but not able to join us tonight. And we will also be following up. So any questions or if you're not already a member, please join Bike Maryland or sign up for our newsletter so you get updates from us about things happening around the state. Thank you so much again, Amelia, John, and Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nisha. Thank you, Dan.
Great night.
Thanks for inviting us.